Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, above the age of 18, of course, welcome back to the Wrestle Plug State of Wrestling Address. Now, every week or every other week, depending on whether there's news or not, because sometimes the week can be fucking boring, and sometimes I just simply can't be asked. But every week, we like to delve our toe into the news pit that is wrestling. Now, of course, the State Wrestling Address is also available in an audio format. So if you listen to Wrestle Plug's audio podcast, welcome. And if you don't, you can check us out across any number of podcasting platforms by simply searching for Wrestle Plug and clicking subscribe. I'm Aaron X, but I cannot talk about wrestling news alone because that'd just be a bit boring. So with the Wrestle Plug bar, sports bar open for business, I have the perfect partner in mind. He comes from Canada, which means that he is the Duke of Diabetes. He is the Maple Leaf Magician. He has 3 times the microphone skills of Kenny Omega and, frankly, 6 times the amount of insulin. He is, as they would say in Japanese wrestling, particularly after what I saw of AEW this week, Wicked Son Cody!
I hope that's not racially insensitive.
It probably is, but I am Egyptian, so feel free to throw all your terrorism jokes below right now.
That's none of my business.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's none of my business. Wrestling news, Mr. Wilkinson. I don't know how clued up you are on this week's subjects. Turns out that a graphic went viral courtesy of WWE's Fox Twitter account. Have you seen this yet?
I have not seen this. I've been back to work recently, so my social media presence has been non-existent.
What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that Carl Wilkinson has a life. But I
Not much of one.
endeavor to help you out with this one. So basically, this is going via wrestlinginc.com, but obviously if you check out Twitter, you'll be able to see it. So the WWE on Fox Twitter account released one of these graphics where you've got $15, create your perfect Survivor Series team, okay? So $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 tiers. You've seen them. We all know what they're like. We've even shared them on the Wrestle Plug from time to time. Simply put, Natalia got a knickers in a twist, and some would say rightfully so. So the Build Your Team for $15 graphic called on fans to use different tiers of superstars to build their WWE Dream teams. Now, I shall give you the tiers, Mr. Wilkinson, and you can give your live opinions on what you think of this. So starting with the $1 tier, we had Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, Natalia, and Peyton Royce.
I think at least 3 of those are worth more than $1.
Yeah. In the $2 tier, we had Naomi, Lana, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. The $3 tier, Rhea Ripley, the tag team champions, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Alexa Bliss. The $4 tier included Raw Women's Champion Asuka, the WWE NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai, NXT UK Women's Champion Kelly Ray and Bianca Belair, and the $5 tier, shock horror, had Becky Lynch, Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte Flair.
What, the 4 horsewomen? No way.
Well, I know, right? It's almost like they've pretty much been in charge of the women's division for the better part of 5 years. The graphic was deleted due to the backlash from wrestlers and fans, but you can see a screenshot of it on wrestlinginc.com, and I'm sure if you just search for it on Twitter, you'll be able to find it. Fox posted another now deleted tweet in response to the backlash and wrote, "Seems we chose violence today." That's awkward as well. Fox has quite the reputation as is. Natalia took to Twitter with a lengthy statement on being included in the $1 tier. This is what she had to say. "I have struggled for years to figure out exactly what my worth is, but I won't allow anyone to pick that number for me. As hurtful as seeing this is, I want it to be known that if I ever find myself under all of these wonderful women, it's because I am a pillar and a foundation of what we are doing. So please keep the $1 because because anyone who knows anything knows how priceless I am." Bliss responded to Natalia, stating, "Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this tier thing either." Kayla Braxton said, "Love you, Natty. Your leadership, skill, drive, influence, and heart are priceless." Cesaro even offered his support, writing, "Always heart emoji." Fuck's sake, we live in a weird world, don't we? WWE creative team member, you'll recognize this name, Dewey Foley. Also
I forgot he was on the creative team.
I know, right? I read it. I was like, oh shit, yeah. That last sentence is perfect. There are people who actually know how the business works, and there are people who think they know how it works. For those who understand it inside and out, you are priceless. Dewey wrote, yeah, well, just so we're pointing things out, just for sheer clarity, you were still my worst wrestler of the year for 2020, so cry me a fucking river. I'm just going all in on the heel while we're here. Loads more stuff. Sean Benjamin got involved. He demanded that WWE and Fox delete it. He then went on this tirade where people were saying, I hope you're showing the same level of energy for racism, etc. And a lot of people pointing out the hypocrisy of the statements, bearing in mind that a lot of these people obviously work for a company that is, shall we say, quite nefarious with its reputation at best. So yeah, it goes on and on and on, and you can still see it now. Even I was a little bit more outraged. I'll tell you what I aimed my outrage at, the fact that Liv Morgan was only in the $1 tier. I think that is disgraceful, but it is what it is. Carl Wilkinson, what do you make of this? And also, do you think it warrants the sheer ferocity of social media backlash, and particularly from the wrestlers? Do you think the wrestlers are being too sensitive?
I mean, kind of. These numbers are arbitrary. They literally mean nothing. Just because you're in a $1 tier doesn't mean you're bad. Sure, Natalia might not be the most exciting wrestler to watch, but she is right in the statement that, you know, she is a pillar. She's been here forever. She is still a great worker. Sure, kind of boring character-wise, but she always really has been. But she's still a great worker, still the only female graduate of the Heart Dungeon. No one can take that away from her. So people just looking at these numbers going, oh my God, someone's worth $1 or $3. I'm worth like $3.50 at most.
I was going to drop a $3.50 joke in at some point.
Yeah, that's
about $3.50.
Yeah, that I would classify myself as a $3.50. Does it mean anything? No, it's a South Park reference, and so it's funny. I don't understand why people get so worked up about this. It does not matter. People having a dollar value next to their name from, oh wow, WWE on Fox. What we do? I guess that account means it runs your life. Everything it says is gospel. Yeah. You know your own worth. I've said it already, but it does not fucking matter. Just take it in stride. You know, you could get. What's the difference? If she goes up to $2, does that make it better? No, I don't think so. It's just a fucking number, dude. I'm glad to see the wrestlers supporting each other, because this industry, as we've seen lately, has a lot of negativity, a lot of subtle nuances of racism and predatory actions that aren't subtle in the slightest. Yeah. So it's cool in that aspect, but for the most part, it does not fucking matter.
Yeah, no, I when I first saw it, I thought fair enough. I don't get to choose what people are offended and outraged by, but I do get to react to what people are offended and outraged by and give you my opinions, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Do I have the thickest skin in the world? No. I've been called many things and had things leveled at me and felt like that was a bit unfair or whatever, but this seems really low on the end of the spectrum. In a world where people are dying in bus crashes, you know, we've had natural disasters again where people are passing away. You know, our good brother, you know, I don't know what he'd like to be called on this podcast. We'll go with Louisiana Man just for legal purposes. But I mean, you know, he pretty much almost lost his house and everything in it. And yet here's these very obnoxious wrestlers taking to social media when they earn a substantial amount more than the majority of us do, basically crying about a graphic. And I personally couldn't give two flying fucks. And the thing is, why should you care anyway? You know, if you're Natalia, your legacy's set. And it frustrates me because you can't come out with statements like Dewey Fody did saying, like, oh, well, some people think they know about the business. Well, obviously, you're butthurt enough. If these people's opinions don't matter, if these people don't know anything about the business, why are you giving them the time of day? Why are you bringing them cadence by mentioning it on social media? This is unfortunately what happens when you give everybody access to social media. You might have noticed that I'm wearing this T-shirt. Very good reason.
Which I love, by the way. Big fan.
It's great, isn't it? Wrestling Memes, who actually wrestles over here, UK wrestler, and also runs the Wrestling Memes Twitter account, which he's very famous for. You can get it for 20 quid. Absolute bargain. It's fantastic. Shout out to him. Great merch. Bought it off him at a show where he wrestled I do believe Vader Scott in a in a intergender match. It was weird, but good fun. It has to be said. Yeah, no, what else can I say? These wrestlers are being sensitive. I get for Shelton Benjamin in particular, I get it. And obviously, just because you're black doesn't mean that you just have to fight racial injustice. You know, there is so much going on in the world, but it just felt like he just kept pouring more gasoline on the fire and winding people up even more. And the really sad thing is, the Fox, we all know to be a more, shall we say, right-wing, Republican-based kind of sporting broadcasting company. Yeah, that's probably fair to say. Well, this is actually very low down the list of things that they've done wrong. And to be honest, I think they just dropped it because that account actually has been quite spicy, and people have been celebrating it now for a while since they moved SmackDown to Fox, and they've been talking about how funny this Twitter account is now. They're always, getting in on the banter and all this kind of stuff. I don't understand why this is a big deal. And like I say, I'm not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't be offended by, but fucking hell, I'll be honest with you, mate. I wake up every day wondering sometimes where the next meal's coming from. So when I look at something like this, I think, fuck off. It does. It annoys me. It really does annoy me.
They got to pick their battles, man. And that is not a battle worth fighting.
Perspective, It frustrates me because ultimately, like I say, there are a lot of people really struggling to live right now. And these people should count themselves lucky that they not only have such a great job that pays so well, but they're also afforded the opportunity to go on social media like we are, and we're in a much poorer circumstance than they are. I just feel like they should understand and pick their battles a bit better, like you say. So it is what it is. As a very quick aside note, I don't really give a shit, but ratings were up for AEW Dynamite and NXT. Yes, indeed. Money, money, money. NXT actually right up AEW Dynamite's arsehole. I believe it was about 30 or 40,000 difference this week. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, no, because I've never cared about this whole ratings war to begin with, because all that matters is people are watching wrestling on Wednesdays. I don't care. I mean, I haven't watched Dynamite in months because I've been watching and listening to your reviews, and it's shit, so I don't care. I can't watch NXT live, so I can't add to that. I'm not going to only watch Dynamite because I can't watch NXT. That's stupid. If I don't really support the product, why would I watch it?
That is very true. That being said, one thing that I did think was worth a mention was actually the fact that Tuesday's post No Surrender edition of Impact Wrestling, featuring the fallout, of course, from the pay-per-view, drew 197,000 viewers on Access TV, and apparently that is their biggest rating since December when Kenny Omega showed up on the show. So that shows that actually, even though he's not on the show right now, they're obviously trending in the right direction. And although it's a small win, and it may just be because of the fallout from what was frankly a very, very good pay-per-view. And of course, you can check out the review of that on this YouTube channel if you wish. And it's got extensive highlights. Shout out to you, Anthem, because you don't get butthurt and send me cease and desists every time I put a few cheeky gifts in. But I was just pleased because this was also a show where we saw, oh boy, Josh Alexander and TJP have a absolute worldie of a contest for the X Division Championship. And, I'm just thrilled because essentially the highlight of that entire show was Josh Alexander versus TJP. We're obviously huge fans of, well, let's just be honest, we're huge marks of Josh Alexander, man crush, but it's great to know that the show where he truly excelled and really came out to the world again as a single star, and obviously we know a bit better in that regard, but we don't want to be too, obnoxious about it. It's great to know that actually there are more eyeballs on that product. So,
I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of people that were worried when, now that Ethan Page is gone, they're going to be like, what's Josh Alexander going to do? He's going to be Impact World Champion by the end of the year. Mark my fucking words right now.
Yeah.
And if they don't do it, they've made a huge mistake.
Can people stop going online and saying Josh Alexander's going to be a big deal? You heard it here first. How long have we been going on about this for? And we weren't out in front about it either. Destiny Wrestling trusted this man with their title many, many moons ago. I feel like a lot of people in the know have known that Josh Alexander is special for a long time, and people are just all of a sudden reacting to it. This is the problem with social media, this called it mentality. And I know a few people who are associated with this podcast who like to go, called it, because they spend all down the dirt sheets. I really don't understand it. I don't get it. Surely as soon as you saw Josh Alexander, you must have known how special he was. It doesn't take a great match with TJP for us to know that. It certainly helps his stock, and particularly for casual fans who might have tuned in, that's great news. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just sounding a bit obnoxious, but I feel like it's pretty obvious and has been for some time that Josh Alexander is extremely, extremely talented. Did you watch any of Dynamite, by the way, this week?
I did not.
JR accidentally called accidentally called Kenny Omega, the WWE champion on live broadcasting. It's a small thing, but I just thought it was funny and it was worth a mention. And then to make matters even better, Drew McIntyre's got a good sense of humor. He goes on Twitter, he posts a picture of himself like this in a chair going, and he just puts in the caption, "The WWE champion Drew McIntyre is not amused." just along the line of a litany of errors coming from JR's gob at this point, mate.
It's just sad. It's just sad. I can't even say anymore. You guys have heard me say it hundreds of times before. I believe JR is ruining his legacy every week. Take him off. Just get Excalibur and Taz to do it. I hear they do great with stuff on Dark, so just let them do it. Shivani, I couldn't give two shits about. He can hang it with Britt Baker and do her Starbucks. I don't fucking care. So just take him off. Keep him behind the scenes. Let him do like talent relations and shit like he did for WWE back in the day, but just get him off the desk, man. He doesn't need to be there anymore.
All around me are familiar faces. I thought it was very amusing. He's standing there with Don Callis and the Good Brothers, and oh dear. It was weird. Like, I watch Dynamite now for fun, not because I genuinely want to see good wrestling. I watch it because I think, oh, maybe there'll be something shit I can tear apart. I know that sounds awful, but I watch it because it's carny, and also, you know, people apparently enjoy listening to me talk about it on the YouTube channel, which is great. And shout out to our subscribers. We're almost at 250, which is amazing. So, you know, once we get to 300, ladies and gentlemen, more t-shirt giveaways. Not necessarily this beauty, but definitely more t-shirt giveaways and more merch and art and everything else that you can imagine. I really want to make this a very cool place for wrestling fans to hang out with. Who doesn't want to hang out in this glorious sports bar? I mean, look at it. Neon signs, the lot.
Fueled by alcoholism?
Yeah, that too. I mean, frankly, that's the most important part of this setup, ultimately, because trust me, if you watch Dynamite regularly, you'll want to start drinking too. I'll make mine a non-alcoholic cocktail, thank you, or a mocktail, as we like to call them over here. I don't know what they call them in Canada.
Same thing.
Yeah, see, Canada knows. I bet America's got something else for it. America probably just calls it fucking pussy drinks.
It's definitely because it's so American. Be like, give me that there girly drink.
Yeah, that's fair. Brief bit of news here for you. Former Impact World Champion Tessa Blanchard remains a free agent, and it seems like AEW has no immediate plans of signing her, according to Tony Schiavone. On tonight's AEW Dynamite post-show, which obviously was from Wednesday, Schiavone was asked if AEW was considering bringing in Blanchard to bolster its women's division. He said, "Yes, I don't think that's happening," said Schiavone, when asked if he had any intel. At least not anytime soon. I would have heard that if she's coming over. Obviously, since she got married to Darga, shout out to Darga. Oh boy, got a lovely photo. I met Darga at Super Strong Style. What a gentleman. Really awesome human being. Met him and Aerostar. They were looking after it. It was really sweet. Darga was translating for Aerostar, who didn't speak any English. Darga, by the way, speaks immaculate English. You wouldn't have even thought he was fucking Mexican if he hadn't pointed it out. But they were both just so cool, really lovely guys, and just reaffirmed my love for AAA. But yeah, ever since Tessa Blanchard got married to Darga, she has pretty much been playing her cards very close to her chest, and apparently she's not going to make a decision until the pandemic has completely been lifted and removed, which could be a long time if we're being honest. So
yeah, that's I mean, I'd rather see her in NXT, to be honest, because AEW's women divisions is shit. Sure, they've got like that women's eliminator tournament going on. I'll have to catch up on that at some point because we all love women's wrestling here. So we'll have to catch up on that. But I mean, their division's still shit just because they have a good tournament going. I haven't seen the matches, so I don't know if they're great, but it's still a potential step in the right direction. But their division's still shit.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of women's wrestling and AEW, I don't know if you saw any of the Japanese bracket that was afforded to people via the YouTube channel. Really recommend you check it out. Everyone should check it out. It was actually really good. Hana Kamara, there was a lovely tribute to her by a wrestler called Veni, who was actually wearing her kimono. I thought it was just worth a mention. I believe it's May the 23rd, which is the 1-year anniversary of her passing. Her mum will be producing a really, really cool looking tribute show to her, which will also be ran in conjunction, I believe, with Stardom. So I thought that was worth a mention. That's probably going to be quite a star-studded event. So obviously we'll be looking to check that out and cover that for the podcast because, you know, we all miss Hana dearly. And yeah, no, for all my gesticulations about AEW, I actually thought the Japanese side of the bracket, it actually looks very exciting. Hikaru Shida was on commentary. She was actually there as well, which was pretty cool. So that alone will probably draw Carl Wilkinson's eyeballs because I know he's just a small fan of Hikaru Shida. Just a small fan. Just had a little bit of crush. It's all right. That's all right. I'm like that with Nevaeh, and then I found out that she goes out with Jake Christ. So please don't murder me, Mr. Christ. It is what it is. But yeah, I just thought obviously that was worth a mention. Not much else in the news other than the fact that WWE are essentially trying to rinse their employees. Have you heard about this? So Vince McMahon has brought the hammer down again. Apparently, WWE talents will no longer be allowed to make any monetized tweets or any kind of third-party references that could lead to any kind of contractual agreements or anything like that. So basically, to give you a good example, Kevin Owens couldn't tweet out, "Oh, I'm working in conjunction with my favorite restaurant in Canada because they're good friends of mine," because that would apparently be a violation of his terms. WWE is essentially implying that they own the intellectual rights and property of these wrestlers' social media now as well. So obviously it wasn't just, you know, you can't Twitch, you can't fucking play video games, you can't monetize that, you can't get a cameo without us getting a nice big slice of the pie. Now it's actually stretched out to Instagram, Twitter, you know, and basically, according to Vince and the, for lack of a better term, media scrum where this was announced, if you break the violations, you'll get a warning first, then a fine, and then suspensions. So yeah, WWE bringing the hammer down even more. And bearing in mind, this is in a period where essentially they're not going to be. Oh, yeah, that was the other bit of news as well, actually. WWE also apparently has announced that none of its employees, and particularly its talent, will be getting any bonuses of any kind this year. There will be no sort of payment incentives. So, you know, horrendous time to do it. It's getting pretty shitty, isn't it? How long until a union finally gets fucking triggered?
It's the 18th of February, or when we're recording anyway. How do you know that something's not going to happen in the next 10 months? You just had record-breaking year.
That's because they're bailing out, I think. Obviously, with the sale of the network to Peacock, I believe, which is via NBC, there is a very strong suggestion that overall they're preparing to sell it. Now, one thing that did interest me, now bear with me, this might be a bit boring to our regular listeners, but I thought I'd throw it out there anyway. WWE employees have been given a stock award valued at $3,000.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? According to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, never heard of him before, but I'll give him a check and see if they're any good. It was noted that not every employee received the stock award, but a large number of people did. The units of stock will vest next month. Don't actually know what that means. I'm not very good with this sort of stuff. I should ask Cam. He does. Believe it or not, despite only being 19, he seems to be a whiz kid with investments. I suppose that's all right.
It's fuckboy stuff.
Fuckboy investment sounds like his wrestling faction for life. As noted this past Friday, employees and staffers in different departments were told by WWE management that promotions and raises would not be given out moving forward. This left many employees upset.
You don't say.
You don't say. While there was no word on how this latest edict will last, the belief then was that the decision was made over the last several weeks out of financial prudence stemming from the fourth quarter and full year 2020 earnings report that was released on February the 4th. We're getting into fucking Bloomberg territory over here. There's no word on if the stock award is related to the edict on promotions and raises. I suspect it might be. When I worked at Royal Mail, which for my many sins was a horrible, horrible job, I actually was given, when the company was somewhat privatized, they actually gave me some stocks and shares, which were worth $3,500. So the fact that, Royal Mail is a huge company, to be fair, but so is WWE. And the fact that they gave me about the same, that WWE are giving a much smaller level of employees. Bang on, my Royal Mail employs about 120,000 people. I'm pretty sure WWE headquarters does not have that much. Yeah. It's just a slap in the face. No rises. Apparently there's a lot of discontent going on backstage in WWE, and I don't want to make this ridiculous hyperbole that obviously, AEW is going to take over and all this nonsense, because we've heard this before. But I tell you what, now is a really good time to strike if you want to make WWE feel it, because they are all over the place backstage. And people are saying, oh, well, Vince McMahon made all this money. Yeah, but the problem is it does kind of feel to me like they're getting off a sinking ship a little bit. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, like I say, a good time to strike. We have three of the biggest other promotions in the world. There's kind of like that.
Door.
Oh, fuck. That is so fucking dumb. I hate it.
They stole
it was
it off
inevitable.
Of Tanahashi. They stole it off of Tanahashi. Let's be honest. He said that like 3 years ago.
I fucking hate it. The door's been kicked down. The door was always open. It was anyway. But we have Impact, we have New Japan, and we have AEW. They're all doing like a three-way dance or whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, it's getting eyes on all three products. Like you said, Impact had their highest viewership since Kenny Omega first appeared on their show, with almost 200,000 viewers, which is incredible. And now, if WWE is all over the place, why not? Why not kick them in the dick while they're down? Vince is obsessed with the dick anyway, so.
That's very true, yeah. It's a shame in a lot of ways. I actually feel sad because I still feel that WWE overall has the best product. I do. I really believe that. I think that NJPW, it could be argued, has probably the best pure wrestling. I think Impact is the most overall entertaining show for me. But I think as an overall entity, I'm never going to stop watching NXT, particularly what they're doing right now. You must be heartbroken about what's going on in the Undisputed Era, mate.
I don't know if it's the era in general or just Kyle O'Reilly, because
it's the end of an Undisputed Era.
Man, what's Bobby Fish gonna do whenever he comes back?
Is he ever coming back?
Yeah, really. I don't even know what's wrong with him this time.
I've got to say, this shows you how valuable Bobby Fish is, because you just know if Bobby was here, Bobby is the glue that brings everybody together. And we all take him for granted. But while Bobby is gone, Kyle and Adam cannot play with their toys fairly. And now they've just fucking completely lost it. And ultimately, when you were a kid and you were arguing with one of your siblings, who wouldn't pick up their sibling and brain buster them on the steel steps as payment? That's how it works. How it works in my fucking house.
I had a mean 8-year-old brainbuster, dude. You don't even know.
Oh, mate, fucking literally anyone who even so much as looked at me funny when I was in primary school got a sharpshooter. And like, I've just forced the sharpshooter on people. Like, I was not a very nice child.
No, mine was the spear, because Goldberg, well, it was more so, no, I guess. But I've had
you about to give Goldberg a bit of love there.
Well, I had WCW NWO Revenge when I was a kid. I didn't have No Mercy. That I had Revenge first. So
what a game. That's, do you know what? Spoiler alert, shocking hot take alert. That's better than No Mercy. It's better.
Yep, 100%.
Much better. You got to play as Booker T, innit? Have you ever played WCW Nitro on the PS2?
I haven't, no. I've heard
that
shit,
is phenomenal, especially when you get to pick Alex Wright. So there's a screen selection. Don't know if I'll be able to find it for the big screen in this bar, but there's a screen selection thing. And every time you would select a wrestler, it would come up with a little promo video for them. And like they would tell you why you should pick them, So obviously you'd hover over Booker T, be like, oh, Booker T, sucker, pick me if you want some Harlem Heat, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. And Alex Wright is the best one because he's like, yeah, I am German, and if you pick me, I guarantee we will get a win, yeah, Wunderkids. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? It's really, really fantastic. Do you know what we should do? We should just mug off State of Wrestling Address and just have an hour a week where we just play shitty old wrestling games and stream it.
I still want to pick up Battlegrounds, dude. I'll wait till it's like $10, but I still want to try it because
I'm not paying any more than like for that pile of shit. I've seen a review, but it is one of those games where I think, I would like to play that. So we'll have to do a podcast. Tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening, maybe you're checking this out on YouTube, let us know if you fancy listening to me and Carl, and also watching us go through some old video games in terms of wrestling, or maybe even playing a few of them and recording it. We'll stick it on the YouTube for a bit of a giggle. Why not? There's plenty of fun to be had. But yeah, I think I might get Battlegrounds, but only when it is filthy cheap in the ground.
Yeah, like dirt cheap when they're practically giving it away.
Microtransactions in that game are disgusting. It's actually quite appalling. But
it bothers me because I just watched another YouTube video from one of the shows I watch regularly, and he put up a gameplay of WWE All Stars. Do you remember how much fun All Stars was?
yeah, well, that was what I was hoping that Battlegrounds was
Exactly.
going to be like it, and then actually it just turned out to be, well, frankly, a shit version of it. So, but yeah, like I say, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to hear us talk about some video games, why not? Because we're nerds after all. Not really much else left in news other than the fact you might have heard early this morning it was reported that Conan had been hospitalized due to a kidney issue. He had a kidney transplant back in 2007. There were no other details to Conan's condition, but it was reported as a very serious situation. Hugo Cevinovich, who people will obviously remember as the former WWE announcer, and also is the current AAA announcer, which is another reason why I continue to follow that amazing product. He reported that apparently he tested positive for COVID-19 as well. But according to this report that I've just pulled up, at this moment, he is out of danger and hopes to be given a medical discharge between today and tomorrow to be able to continue treatment from home. Conan is in our prayers as his family, and we wish him a speedy recovery, said Hugo Cevinovich. So, yeah, Conan, I'm afraid, getting to that sort of later status in life, isn't he? Now, nobody's ever immortal, and it's kind of weird because when I was a kid, Conan was this, whopper beast.
He was
of
a
Mexican
thug, dude.
man. Yeah, man, he was a bad motherfucker. I still remember him on an episode of Impact Wrestling when he said to that girl, he said, "Shut up, white girl number 5, generic white girl number 5." Like, he didn't give a fuck, mate. And what I loved about him is the reason that LAX was so good. The old incarnation, the OGs, even the newer stuff with LAX, of course, that we saw with the rivalry of Eddie Kingston, who, by the way, was just fucking amazing in that rivalry. That's because Conan fought tooth and nail with creative to make that happen. And that was in a time when, fucking Vince Russo and Dixie Carr and everybody else was trying to fucking ruin this wonderful, beautiful, blossoming, promotion in TNA. And he just fought so hard to ensure it. And he does rub a lot of people up the wrong way, because he is kind of like Mexico's answer to Paul Heyman in a lot of ways, except the difference is at one point he was a megastar of a worker. He was even touted for a rivalry with Hulk Hogan when Hulk Hogan was WWE champion and he was in AAA. Like, people don't realize how much of a big deal Conan was. Like, he was a massive, massive deal and still is to this day. And he's actually responsible for so many people. Can he be a bit of a gangster and a wheeler dealer? Absolutely. But I'll tell you what, he's always been good value for money in my book. So we wish him a very speedy recovery.
Yeah, kidney stuff is, first off, kidney transplants are incredibly difficult to maintain because like the rejection rate is incredible for most organs, but like kidneys and hearts are particularly complicated. Kidney problems, diabetes can give kidney problems. I remember before my dad passed away, his kidneys were starting to shut down. He had to do dialysis, which is, artificial kidney filtration.
Yeah.
Like, that shit is terrifying. And like you say, he's getting up there in age. He's no spring chicken anymore. So, I hope he can recover from this. He's obviously a fighter, one of the greatest wrestlers to ever come out of Mexico. So hopefully he can, turn the gun sideways and murder or something. I don't know. Just get better, Conan. That was a little racially insensitive.
Yeah, no, I do love Mexican wrestling, as everyone knows, and I love Mexican culture. I'm obsessed with Day of the Dead. I actually, just before pandemic, I've got a huge Day of the Dead tattoo planned, but is what it is. We wait on that, and that's not a big deal right now. But yeah, it's one of those things where, and also a lot of the guys I've spoken to, I know people who have worked in Mexico and they've said to me that actually it's a very difficult place to get the right medical treatment unless you are, a big star. There is a real big disparity between the rich and the poor over there. And although Conan is doing pretty well for himself, he's not let's just say he's not an affluent man by any means. He's hardly a billionaire, although he is doing pretty well for himself. And yeah, you see that, and it just makes you realize that life is actually a lot more precious and fragile than we realize. So yeah, just because you're getting old, we all basically Father Time is undefeated. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. That's pretty much it in terms of the news. Little side note: Millie McKenzie is officially signed for the NXT UK brand, which is obviously quite a big deal. According to Alex McCarthy, who reported it for TalkSport, one of the big reasons why she's only just signed for the brand is because she wasn't obviously comfortable, obviously was speaking out. Her ex, Travis Banks, obviously was involved in the company, and it wasn't until he was fired that she felt more comfortable with the idea of working for that promotion long term. But it's very exciting. Apparently, Triple H himself has actually seen her and is really hot on the idea of her being quite a big deal. So hopefully, we're going to be getting to see a lot more of Millie McKenzie. I actually took the time to watch NXT UK's episode from last week in preparation for this week. Meiko Satomura was on it, wrestling. I forgot her name now. That beautiful woman who looks a bit like Scarlett Johansson, the Scottish lady. I forgot her name.
Elsa Dawn?
Isla Dawn. Thank you very much for reminding me. I should know that. That's terrible. She would kick my ass. But yeah, no, Meiko Satomura's on it now. There was a real heavy women's presence. Piper Niven was wrestling. You got Rampage Brown on there now. Charles Samuels. Actually, they've done a lot of work to really make it look quite good. There are still a couple of entities on there where you think, but I think people should try and look past the overall nature of speaking out in terms of what it's done for this brand, because obviously never, ever, ever forget anything that's been mentioned. Obviously, we want to follow through and make sure that wrestling is a safe environment, but there's a lot of great talent here. And I don't think that talents like Piper Niven and Kaylee Ray and Zaya Brookside and Meiko Satomura, for Christ's sake, we're talking about one of the all-time greats, okay? Then you got Volta and Ilya Dragunov, Sean Samuels and Noam Dar. There's some real talent here, and there's some depth to it as well. And I don't think that they should suffer because of the actions of some fucking Egypts. But congratulations, Millie McKenzie. That's a really lovely thing to hear, because she went through the mill a bit. She was very much kind of at the center, at the forefront of a lot of everything that was going on with speaking out. She was one of the real big names, and that must have taken an incredible mental toll for her to achieve a dream and become a part of the NXT UK roster is not only very exciting, but also thrilling for someone like me who's met Millie McKenzie. She had this amazing tag team run where her and Pete Dunne were best friends, and Pete Dunne hated her, and he wouldn't touch her. He was like, "Go, just leave me alone!" Kept pushing her away. And they used to come out to "You Got a Friend in Me" from Toy Story, and it was just, "You got a friend in me." Yeah, it was just that. And she come out and she tried to do the bruiserweight stuff. And he's like, "What are you doing? Stop! Fucking get out of the way!" And I actually saw a great match where she tagged with all the British Strong Style, and they all came out and they're all doing their pose and that. And she's like, "Oh, can I join?" They're all like, "Go away!" It's just, she was very much how Jack Tushingham, aka Aaron Cruz, is to us. It was very good fun. So yeah, really excited about that. And I just hope there's going to be that little nod one day, maybe a backstage interview. Pete Dunne just walks past and goes, "Ugh." He even put up an emoji of him throwing up.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great fun. And obviously, they love each other dearly in real life. And I know Pete Dunne has done so much and has really stood out as the kind of, the forefront and the center of British wrestling, European wrestling, and has really led the way for how you should conduct yourself properly as a professional wrestler. So I've got all the time in the world for Pete Dunne. And the hilarious thing is, he's the one who looks like he's probably going to murder you the most, other than Dexter Lumis, obviously. Oh, yeah, other news as well. Austin Theory has been found. He is alive and well. He was found in his pants with a fanny pack and apparently a t-shirt, a crop top that said vacay, which is a little bit alarming.
Are we sure? I heard this. I know you're not a huge Cultaholic fan, but I heard Tom say this because he's my favorite. He's hilarious. But he's like, maybe it's Dexter Lumis wearing an Austin Theory suit. I'm like,
he's wearing his skin.
Yeah. Dexter Lumis is fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, because it's Austin Theory, nobody gives a fuck.
Hey, did you see how happy Johnny and Candice were?
Johnny Gargano's heel run right now is one of my favorite things in all of wrestling. He is hysterical. The fact he tried to get that bird fired a couple of weeks ago for saying the word Kushida just amused the fuck out of me. And I was like, right, that's it. Regal's office now. And he looks at the camera and goes, you come too. We're going to watch somebody get fired. He's brilliant. He's amazing. Anyone who doesn't like him as a heel, fuck you. Fuck you. Like, he gives you literally so much range. Like, oh, he's just fantastic. Is there anything you want to talk about, mate, before we wrap it up?
I mean, I was definitely.
You want to gush over?
I want to stay on Johnny Gargano for a second because everyone knows he's my favorite wrestler in NXT. He has been forever. And like when he started turning heel, I was a little apprehensive because he just has that natural baby face, right? It was the kind of same as Sami Zayn. And both of them surprised me by having incredible heel runs. Sami Zayn stuff right now, the conspiracy theory stuff, is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
It's unreal how good it is. And Gargano's the same with The Way. Shout out to all the Mandalorian fans out there. It's it's so good. I miss Rebel Heart. I miss that theme, but I can just listen to it to my heart's content whenever I want. So
yeah. We also had arguably my new favorite thing of all time, and I know you've probably seen a gif of it. MSK with the popcorn on NXT.
Oh yeah, and Beth Phoenix too. They were all in the corner, like when the women were there. That's gonna replace the Big E gif.
That's amazing. That's so, and then Wesley, obviously formerly Desmond Xavier, you know, a guy who has interacted and messaged us so many times to say thank you for our support, and I was just so happy. I'm so fucking happy for them boys. Like, and do you know what? A lot of people sort of raise their eyebrows. Oh, they should have gone to AEW. Oh, they've gone to the big machine. They're already megastars from one tournament and a popcorn gif. That's what WWE can do for you when it's done right. I think that's fucking awesome. And just seeing him on the floor having a seizure with a popcorn out, I've never been so happy in all my life. And Nia Jax in the background being like, she's like looking at Raquel Gonzalez like, yeah, bitch, you want to, yeah. What the fuck is going on over there? Like, it's just really funny. Like, and even Beth Phoenix is like, the whole thing made me so happy. And Jesus, it is hard to be happy right now in this world. So, do you know what? Just enjoy your bloody wrestling. And if you don't like me ranting about AEW Dynamite on the YouTube, don't watch it. Although do watch it, because I'm fucking great at tearing that show apart. And I'm never, ever, ever going to let up on the fact that Luther and Serpentico suck massive dong. They are terrible. Bad wrestlers. Very bad wrestlers. Bad wrestlers. Get back in the cage. You are Luther. You are a bad wrestler. Get back in there. Get back in there and learn how to wrestle.
Just smack him on the nose with a newspaper.
It just annoys me a little bit because ultimately, if they're looking for fat white men who can put dodgy face paint on, I bet I would cost a lot less than Luther. Just saying. So yeah, put me in, bro. Tag me in. I've asked to be tagged in before on here. So yeah, Tony Khan, tag me in. I will abuse the living shit out of you for being such a scrawny little dweeb, and I will also absolutely annihilate you for being a massive Donald Trump mark, but put me in, bro. Hell, you're throwing money around, put me in. I would love to wrestle some of these dirty marks. That pretty much does it, mate. Anything you want to add?
No, there was more news than I thought there was going to be, so it was nice to have a nice long chat with you, as always.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. We don't take it too seriously, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fairly unfiltered chat. We just kind of breeze over things. It's ultimately, I feel like we do this for a bit more of the fun side of it because I spend so much time reviewing things. So obviously, it's a great chance for me to obviously collaborate with my boy. Obviously, great time, great chance to chat with Mr. Wilkinson because I know he's very busy with work and that, and also gives you guys who are listening via audio a little bit of an extra content awareness as well because I feel like you guys are kind of missing out a little bit. And that's the one thing I want to ask actually before we leave. A few people suggested to me that they would like to hear Raw, NXT, all the reviews that I do for the YouTube channel. And right now I'm pretty much covering everything. I do cover Impact, AEW, Dynamite, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. I even covered the Japanese bracket, obviously, for AEW. Hardest working man in British wrestling podcasting. Just saying. Sorry, Cultaholic. Just know, you've got a massive media team behind you. It's me and a laptop. Sue me. But yeah, I'd like to know whether you guys think that's worth doing or not, because I'm happy to make them audio podcasts, but obviously it does mean that the numbers will shoot up to a ridiculous amount. We'll go from like 500 to 1,000 before you know it. So it's up to you guys. But we are just 10 podcasts away now from episode 500 of the Wrestle Plug. That is going to be a whopping great celebration of all things that are Wrestle Plug and wrestling. Just a ridiculously hilarious, chaotic party of fun. So we're going to be answering all your questions. If you want to know over the 4 years, you want to ask us anything at all personally, send them into WrestlePlug at WrestlePlug via a DM. You can email them to us, WrestlePlug@gmail.com. Let's get ready for a big old party. Should be a right laugh. And who doesn't want to have a big party in such a dodgy world like we have right now?
4 years.
But yeah. Oh, by the way, this weekend, going to be quite a special little podcast dropping, if I do say so myself. And if you haven't checked out the promo video for it, I'm not going to tell you what it is. Go and watch the video, you cretins. I don't put in all this work for nothing. Watch the option C video on a YouTube channel and then mark out underneath. Otherwise, you just have to wait till Sunday, innit? Carl Wilkinson, thank you for joining me for the State of Wrestling Address. The state of it.
Thank you for having me, my friend. I mean, we do have Elimination Chamber this Sunday, but I think I'm looking forward to the podcast a little more, to be honest. Elimination Chamber should be good. That'll be better.
Yeah, Elimination Chamber's all right, but this is like, this is the mecca. And I would argue this is actually one of the biggest ever podcasts we've had, and obviously a real testament, because you think about all the different people we've spoken to and the different shows we've done and the amazing interactions we've had. Very exciting to see that we're still able to find another level on these kind of things. So hopefully you guys will enjoy all the content. Don't forget, we will be covering the Elimination Chamber. Not only will that be available, obviously, on the YouTube, but that will also be available, once again, as an audio podcast. As a rule of thumb, major pay-per-views and the State of Wrestling Address will still always be available via audio. Everything else will also be available on YouTube, along with all of these amazing reviews and everything else. So loads of content going through on the YouTube. And like I say, once we get to 300, it's giveaway time. But from myself, Aaron Nix, and from Carl Wilkinson, thank you for joining us at the Wrestle Plug Sports Bar. It's time to clean this fucking mess up and get ready for another chat next week. Take it easy, gang, and we'll catch you very soon for more content from the Wrestle Plug.